When the first snowflakes begin to fall, and a thick sheet of ice covers Frostwood Lake, strange, ethereal lights appear, dancing on the frozen surface. These ghostly lights have been the subject of fearful whispers and children's bedtime stories in the small town of Frostwood for generations. But one winter, a group of curious friends decided to unravel the mystery behind the chilling phenomenon. Ella, Tom, Jenny, and Max grew up hearing the tales but never believed them. They were the adventurous Sortalways seeking thrills and daring each other to explore the unknown. So, on a cold Friday night, with a full moon hanging low in the sky, they set out to uncover the truth. Bundled in heavy coats, scarves, and gloves, they trudged through the snowy path leading to the lake. Their breath formed misty clouds in the frigid air, and their flashlights cast eerie shadows on the trees surrounding the path. As they approached the lake, silence enveloped them, broken only by the crunch of snow underfoot. Frostwood Lake was a vast expanse of ice, glistening under the moonlight. The surface was smooth, almost mirror-like, reflecting the starry sky above. The group hesitated at the edge, a mixture of excitement and trepidation coursing through their veins. "We're really doing this," Ella said, her voice barely a whisper. "We're going to see if these lights are real." Max nodded, his usually confident demeanor slightly shaken. "Let's stick together and be careful. If it gets too intense, we head back immediately." With that, they stepped onto the ice, their footsteps echoing in the stillness. They cautiously made their way towards the center of the lake, where the ghostly lights were sent to appear. As they walked, a soft, bluish glow began to emanate from the ice beneath their feet, growing more intense with each step. Suddenly, the air around them grew colder, and an unnatural silence descended. The lights appeared, dancing and flickering across the ice, casting an ethereal glow. The friends stood there, mesmerized by the otherworldly sight. "Is this really happening?" Jenny asked, her voice trembling. "It's beautiful, but so eerie." Tom, always the skeptic, tried to rationalize. "It must be some sort of natural phenomenon, northern lights maybe?" But before they could ponder further, the ice beneath them cracked with a deafening roar. Panic set in as they tried to regain their balance, but the ice gave way, plunging them into the freezing water. The cold was unlike anything they had ever felt, piercing through their layers of clothing and numbing their bodies instantly. Ella struggled to stay afloat, her breaths coming in short, frantic gasps. She felt a cold, bony hand wrap around her ankle, pulling her deeper into the icy depths. Desperation fueled her efforts, but the grip tightened, dragging her down. Tom managed to grab onto a floating piece of ice, pulling himself to safety. He looked around frantically, but his friends had vanished beneath the surface. The ghostly lights hovered above the water, casting an eerie glow on the now still lake. Max's heart pounded in his chest as he fought against the freezing water. He saw Ella and Jenny being dragged under, their faces contorted in terror. Summoning all his strength, he swam towards Tom, who was trying to pull Jenny out of the water. But it was too late. Ella, Jenny, and Max disappeared beneath the ice, their screams muffled by the freezing water. The lights continued to dance, as if taunting Tom with their spectral glow. In the days that followed, the townsfolk searched for the missing friends, their efforts yielding no results. The legend of the ghostly lights became more than just a talelet, was a grim reality that haunted the survivors. Years passed, and the story of the ghostly lights was told and retold, each version more chilling than the last. Some claim to have seen the lights on cold winter nights, dancing above the frozen lake, reflecting the souls of the lost. One winter evening, decades later, a new group of friends gathered around a campfire near Frostwood Lake. They had heard the tales but dismissed them as mere folklore. As the fire crackled and their laughter filled the air, an old man approached, his face etched with years of sorrow. "Beware the ghostly lights of Frostwood Lake," he warned, his voice grave. "Many have ventured there, but few have returned. The lake does not forgive trespassers." The friends exchanged glances, intrigued, yet skeptical. "Isn't it just a story?" one of them asked, a hint of doubt in their voice. The old man shook his head. "I was there that night, long ago. I lost my friends to those lights. They say their spirits remain trapped beneath the ice, waiting for those who dare to disturb their rest." As the old man walked away, the friends felt a chill run down their spines. They watched the ghostly lights appear once more on the lake, flickering and dancing in their spectral ballet. The fire's warmth seemed to fade, and an eerie silence settled over the group. They decided not to test fate that night, turning away from the lake and returning to the safety of their homes. The legend of the ghostly lights lived on, a haunting reminder of the spirits trapped beneath the frozen surface. And so, the story of Frostwood Lake continued. A chilling tale passed down through the generations, a warning for those who dared to venture into the unknown, where the ghostly lights danced and the souls of the lost awaited. The village of Winterbrook was known for its picturesque winters. Nestled in a valley surrounded by snow-capped peaks and dense forests, it transformed into a serene wonderland when the first snow fell. Every year, villagers celebrated the season with carol singing, festive lights, and a sense of togetherness that was as comforting as hot cocoa by the fire. But Winterbrook had a dark past that few dared to speak of, a night when the peaceful village turned into a realm of nightmares. That night came to be known as the Silent Night, Sinister Night. Many years ago, on the eve of Christmas, an unseasonably heavy snowstorm engulfed Winterbrook. The storm seemed almost malevolent in nature, cutting off the village from the outside world and plunging it into an unsettling silence. Power lines fell, leaving the village in darkness, and the only sound was the howling wind that carried an eerie chill. A rumor quickly spread among the villagers that those who dared to wander out during the storm could hear whispers carried on the wind whispers that seemed to come from the depths of the forest. These whispers spoke of an ancient curse cast long ago by a vengeful spirit who lingered in the shadows of the snow-covered trees. In the center of Winterbrook stood an old church, its steeple towering over the village like a guardian. On that sinister night, the church bells tolled on their own, sending shivers down the spines of those who heard. The bell's mournful chime echoed through the empty streets, mingling with the whispers of the wind. Sarah, a young woman who had recently moved to Winterbrook, was unaware of the village's dark history. As the storm raged outside, she huddled by the fireplace in her cozy cottage, reading a book to pass the time. Suddenly, the fire flickered, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. Sarah's curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to investigate the strange noises coming from outside. Bundling up in her warmest clothes, she stepped out into the storm. The village was eerily quiet, blanketed in snow, with only the church's silhouette visible against the dark sky. As she made her way toward the church, the whispers grew louder, chilling her to the bone. "Sarah? Sarah?" She paused, her heart pounding in her chest. "Is someone there?" she called out, but there was no response, only whispers that seemed to come from the very air around her. Reaching the church, she found the doors slightly ajar, creaking in the wind. Pushing them open, she stepped inside. The interior was dimly lit by flickering candles that cast an otherworldly glow. In the center of the nave stood an altar covered with an ancient, dusty cloth. As she approached, a cold gust of wind extinguished the candles, plunging the church into darkness. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she felt an inexplicable presence surround her. The whispers grew louder, echoing off the stone walls, now sounding like a chorus of mournful voices. Fear gripped her as she realized she was not alone. Suddenly, the church doors slammed shut, and she heard footsteps approaching. A figure cloaked in shadow emerged from the darkness, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The whispers became a deafening cacophony as the figure drew nearer, reaching out with a skeletal hand. "Sarah, it's time to join us," the figure intoned in a haunting voice. Terrified, Sarah backed away, only to find herself trapped. The whispers now spoke of the village's dark hysteria, tale of betrayal, vengeance, and a spirit that could not find peace. Centuries ago, Winterbrook had been the site of a terrible injustice. A woman named Eliza, accused of witchcraft, was wrongfully executed by the village elders. Her dying curse sealed the village's fate, condemning it to relive the horrors of that night every year. The storm, the whispers, the sinister presence, they were all remnants of Eliza's wrath, seeking new souls to join her in eternal torment. Realizing the truth, Sarah gathered her courage and managed to utter, "Eliza, I am sorry for what they did to you. Please, find peace." The figure paused, its glowing eyes flickering for a moment. The whispers began to recede, and the cold presence that surrounded Sarah seemed to soften. As she looked around, the church slowly returned to its quiet, serene state, and the storm outside started to calm. Sarah knew she had witnessed something extraordinary, something that had been buried in Winterbrook's history for too long. She vowed to honor Eliza's memory and ensure that the village never forgets the consequences of injustice. Years later, the tale of Silent Night, Sinister Night became a legend that was shared at Winterbrook's annual gatherings. The villagers no longer feared the storm, but respected the memory of the vengeful spirit who once haunted their peaceful home. The church bells tolled each Christmas Eve, not as a mournful reminder, but as a symbol of peace and atonement. The whispers on the wind ceased, and Winterbrook once again became a place of festive joy and unity, a living reminder that the past must be acknowledged, and that redemption is possible even in the coldest, darkest nights. In the depths of winter, when the days were short and the nights seemed endless, the small village of Blackwood lay enveloped in a thick blanket of snow. The villagers never ventured far from the warmth of their homes during this season, for Blackwood held a dark secret, a legend whispered among the elders and feared by the young. It was the tale of the frostbitten shadows. Many years ago, Blackwood was prosperous, its people thriving in harmony with the surrounding forest. But one harsh winter, tragedy struck. An entire hunting party, desperate to provide for their families, ventured deep into the forest and never returned. Weeks turned into months, and hope faded with each passing day. The village mourned their loss, but something in the forest had changed. When the next winter arrived, strange occurrences began to plague Blackwood. Shadows, cold and frostbitten, moved of their own accord, appearing at the edge of the forest and creeping closer to the village with each passing night. These shadows were believed to be the vengeful spirits of the lost hunters, seeking warmth and vengeance against those who had survived. One particularly frigid night, a group of friends, Liam, Aidan, Nora, and Claire, decided to unravel the mystery of the frostbitten shadows. They had grown up hearing the stories but dismissed them as mere superstition. Armed with lanterns and clad in thick furs, they ventured into the forest, determined to put an end to the fear that gripped Blackwood each winter. The journey was arduous, the snow crunching beneath their boots as the wind howled through the trees. The forest, once familiar, now seemed menacing, its shadows cast long and eerie in the moonlight. The friends huddled close, their breaths visible in the biting cold. "We need to find the spot where the hunters were last seen," Liam said, trying to keep his voice steady. "That's where we'll find the answers." They pressed on, guided by an old map that marked the last known location of the lost hunters. As they walked deeper into the forest, an unnatural silence settled around them, broken only by the occasional creak of branches weighed down by snow. Nora shivered, not just from the cold. "Are we sure this is a good idea? What if the stories are true?" Claire squeezed her hand reassuringly. "We stick together, and we'll be fine. We're here to uncover the truth." Suddenly, the shadows around them seemed to come alive, shifting and swirling in the moonlight. The friends stopped in their tracks, hearts pounding, as the frostbitten shadows drew nearer. An icy chill swept over them, leaving them frozen in place. Aiden, always the skeptic, tried to rationalize what they were seeing. "It's just a trick of the light, or maybe the cold is getting to us." But before anyone could respond, the shadows solidified into ghostly figures, spectral forms of the lost hunters, their hollow eyes filled with sorrow and anger. The air grew colder still as the spirits reached out with frostbitten hands, their whispers filling the night air. "Why did you leave us?" they murmured, voices filled with pain and longing. "You must pay for abandoning us." Liam stepped forward, his voice trembling. "We didn't abandon you. We're here to help, to understand what happened, and bring you peace." The spirits continued to advance, their cold presence almost unbearable. Nora and Claire clung to each other, trying to stave off the chill, while Aiden tried to shield them from the encroaching shadows. "We need to show them that we're not their enemies," Claire said, her breath coming in short, visible puffs. "We need to find a way to bring them closure." Liam knelt on the snow-covered ground, pulling out a small handmade memorial cross he had brought along. It was meant to honor the lost hunters, a symbol of remembrance and respect. "Here," he said, placing the cross in the snow. "We're sorry for what happened. We remember you. We honor you." The frostbitten shadows hesitated, their spectral forms flickering as if caught between worlds. The air seemed to warm slightly, and the whispers grew softer. For a moment, it seemed that the spirits might find peace. But then, a stronger, more malevolent presence emerged from the depths of the forest. It was an ancient spirit, twisted by centuries of bitterness and Raja manifestation of the forest's darkest secrets. "You think a simple gesture will appease us?" the malevolent spirit hissed. "Your village is cursed, you must pay the price." The friends recoiled in fear, but Liam stood his ground. "What do you want from us?" The spirit's eyes glowed with a sinister light. "You must offer a sacrifice life for a life. Only then will the curse be lifted." Horror washed over the group as they realized the gravity of the spirit's demand. The frostbitten shadows hovered, waiting for the friends' decision. The cold seemed to seep into their very souls, sapping their strength and resolve. Nora, tears streaming down her face, whispered, "We can't do that. There has to be another way." Aiden, his skepticism shattered, looked to Liam for guidance. "What do we do?" We can't just give in to this madness. Liam struggled to think, his mind racing. He remembered an old legend about an artifact hidden deep within the forest, a relic said to possess the power to banish evil spirits. It was their only hope. "We need to find the relic," Liam said, determination in his voice. "It's our only chance." The friends set off deeper into the forest, guided by Liam's intuition and the faint whispers of hope. The malevolent spirit and the frostbitten shadows pursued them, the forest itself seeming to conspire against their progress. Through sheer willpower and desperation, they reached a hidden cave, marked by ancient runes. Inside, they discovered an ornate chest containing the relica crystalline shard that glowed with a warm, soothing light. With the relic in hand, they returned to the heart of the forest, where the malevolent spirit awaited. Liam held the shard aloft, its light casting away the shadows and warming the air around them. "Be gone!" Liam commanded, his voice ringing with newfound strength. "You have no power here." The malevolent spirit writhed and screamed, its form disintegrating in the relic's light. The frostbitten shadows began to fade, their anguished expressions softening as they found peace at last. The forest slowly returned to its tranquil state, and the friends felt the curse lift from their village. Exhausted but victorious, they made their way back to Blackwood, carrying the relic as a symbol of their triumph. The villagers welcomed them as heroes, and the tale of the frostbitten shadows was passed down through generations as a reminder of the courage and unity that saved the village from darkness.